So we're going back into the water. I need to work on a lot of different areas. But there is a bit of a disconnect between this bright rock and this slice of light here. And I really like the slice of light. I think the values are good in there, they're good here. I love the colors in here, but there is a disconnect. And I would like to bring a few details. I think, as I mentioned when I was laying it in, that details would come, highlights would come. That'll help to qualify that. So that's what I'm going to play with right now. It's a bit fussy, but I need to, or I would like to, bring value pretty much in here, raise the value a little bit, and soften it as we go off to the right. With the general colors. Anyway, let's just see what this does. Is that too much? Is that too bright? I don't think so. I think we're okay with that. Boy, I gotta be careful not to load up my knife too much here. Yeah, see, sometimes it can be as simple as that. Just a couple of little spots. And then your eye looks at an area in a very different way. It's already beginning to connect things a little bit. That line's become a bit thick, that's fine, I can work with that. But this needed something, and I'm making a mess already. Okay, we don't want high value dripping down into there. Well, it's not dripping, obviously. Okay, now I'm going to raise the value of the water itself. So what I'm going to do is, I would say, to look at it, it is a little bit of red sienna, a little bit of ultramarine blue, and a little more yellow ochre. And a little more ultramarine blue. That seems to be in the neighborhood-ish. Yeah, I think so. That's a little higher value than I want, so that just a hit more ultramarine blue and a hit more yellow ochre. See what happens when we do that. See, very dry knife, not much on there at all. Not much on there at all, but I want something. It's amazing how much just a few strokes can change things, you know? That's why I have to be very careful. And I'm going over very textured paint as well, right? So I don't want to mess that up. Okay, that is a little too brown. Let's make it less brown and make it a little bit more green. Maybe that value is a little too low. You can only worry about so many things at a time. Okay. All right, very gentle change. Now we're going to move off to the right a little. We're going to put more of that in there. Yellow ochre. And this time, instead of burnt sienna, I'm going to add a little bit of alizarin crimson, because that more accurately reflects the colors of the rock in here. Remember, it's this band of light there. It's kind of empty, this band of water here. So I'd like to fill it up with something. It's gotta be the right stuff. Okay, I think that already provides some connective tissue from here down to here. But there's more to come. I'll keep playing. So I realize it shows up very clearly on camera, the difference between here and here. But in real life lighting, it's not as visible. So I think I'd like to raise the value of the water just here. I would like these rocks to stand out just a little bit more. So I'm using ultramarine blue and burnt sienna and some dribs and drabs of yellow ochre. I don't want to go way up in value, but I think we need to get a little bit higher. Yeah, we can lower it here on the left a little bit. Oops. Going over paint that is not so dry that you can't paint over it, you know, but it's dry enough that it feels dry. And the paint, of course, is not blending into what I've got. This blue is still high chroma here too, and I'm going to tone that down. I'm going to reserve my blues for over here. I think I mentioned that the other day. It's just a little too much strength over this way. Diving down. So yeah, you know, as you get towards the end of a painting, you start to do these things, or I do anyway. Make refinements, make adjustments. Make tiny improvements. Okay, that's another little short clip. I won't drag you through that whole process. Well, right here I was using cobalt blue and yellow ochre, and that's nice. I like the color. It has sort of a glacial look to it, but it became a bit cartoonish and a bit flat looking, so I decided to lay over some of the colors that I have on the left here and just break it up a little bit. That's all. Give it some texture. So there's that. I realize this is obvious, but I had these very strong bands across here, and I just took, well, I highlighted the bottom a little bit, and then took a little bit of these colors and just dropped them into that band, took some of the colors out of the band and dropped them into the blue. Just gives it a bit more of a natural look, loosens things up a little bit. Looks more watery now. So before I started painting this morning, I decided that I was going to spend the entire day devoted completely to finishing the water on this painting. If I had adopted the attitude, and I'm often guilty of this, I'll just quickly put a few highlights in here and there. Often I'm not paying enough attention, not being careful enough. And I'll get frustrated because I'll screw up. When I get frustrated, things get even worse. So I'm committed to finishing the water today. If it gets done, then I'll move on to something else. But for the time being, that's all I'm going to play with. So I'm I'm putting in a few more highlights here and there, right? Breaking things up a little bit, trying to make it a little more interesting, less graphic designer-ish, or graphic design-ish. So going into these highlights, I will mix ultramarine blue, just a smidgen of it, and cobalt blue, or no, ultramarine blue. I'll be more generous, considerably more generous with yellow ochre, and then white, so that I end up with sort of a pale but warm green. If you don't use enough yellow ochre, you end up with a very cold green. I like it to be warm because we're getting to the highlights, picking up on some of the warmer colors. Then once I have that placed to my satisfaction, then I will clean the area that I'm painting, clean my palette, clean my knife, and use straight titanium white and just a hint of yellow ochre. And I'll touch in the center of, if I have a large band of my previous mixture, then I'll just touch it in a few spots with this final mixture. It's like highlights on top of highlights. So it helps these crests, these sort of wave crests. Well, they're not really waves, I guess, but it helps these crests to sparkle just a bit. And I touch it very lightly with the knife, just here and there. I don't want to go all over the painting. We end up with monotony. And rhythm certainly is an element of design. But if your rhythm is too tight, you end up with monotony, an enemy of design. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just telling you that now because I am going to continue it today, but if you can see where I'm going, then I'll just put up this, I think it's a fairly brief video. Talk to you soon. Next time something else.